Hello there, and welcome to another Victoria 3 video. A little while ago, we had a mini AAR by Neon DT, one of the developers on Victoria 3, written over on the Victoria 3 Discord, and this went across very, very well. People very much enjoyed it. That was the Korean Baby video that I made on the AAR, and well, he's done it again. He's given us another lovely sneak peek into how the game actually plays by doing an AAR of the Russian Empire. So we're going to have a read through this, and we're going to see if there's anything new that we can glean. I've heard that there are some tidbits that are revealing, let's say. And I'm very much looking forward to what we see. I have also been told that the AR kind of ended a little bit prematurely due to hot code being hot code, and, you know, the game's not finished, so certain things went wrong, and I think the save game got corrupted or something along those lines, which is unfortunate. But what is there is interesting enough. So let us have a look at this latest AAR by Neon DT. So what's going on in Russia? Tsar Nikolai Romanov rules over a largely pre-industrial peasant society. He rules with an iron fist, the monarchy backed up by repressive laws like autocracy, censorship, and serfdom. The economy is functional. We're not running a deficit by default. It's mostly based on peasant agriculture, supervised by the aristocracy. The government's budget comes almost entirely, around 80%, from taxes specifically on the peasantry. They're also getting a good amount of money from consumption's tax on liquor. That tracks. I mean, it is Russia. That very much tracks. What are the demographics? Around half the population is Russian, with Poles, Ukrainians, and Belarusians making up the largest minorities. Of these, we discriminate against Poles, as well as nearly all of the many other minorities in Russia. The overwhelming majority of the people follow the Russian Orthodox Church. Are there any minorities we don't discriminate against yet? Russia does not discriminate against Ukrainians and Belarusians. We have a significant, maybe 10%, Catholic minority, as well as a few Muslims of various schools and a smattering of Protestants. Political power from pops, disregarding other factors, is firmly in the hands of the aristocrats. Do you discriminate against a culture or a religion separately, or can you choose to only target Catholic Poles, for example, a combination of culture plus religion? So they're separate, but we enforce a state religion, so non-Orthodox pops are discriminated against. It is not a good time to be a Catholic Pole. Overall, the poor are barely able to feed themselves while the rich live in relatively luxurious lives. We're going to widen that gap even further. Our goal today is human misery. Of course. How are the Tartars doing? They're not great. They're discriminated against. Naturally. We probably want to make a friend. As an opening move, I'm going to propose an alliance with fellow reactionary monarchy, Austria. Let's take a look at the internal politics situation. The government is made up exclusively of the land-owning aristocracy. They are powerful and enjoy the full backing of the Tsar. The Orthodox Church is also powerful, but not part of the government. They're fairly neutral towards the government, leaning positive. I want to make them loyal, and I have some ideas about how to achieve that. There's also a significant, but not yet powerful capitalist industrial class. They're also neutral, but leaning negative. I have mixed feelings about these guys. They might be useful, but they might also be a thorn in our side, and I have no intention of allowing free trade. How are the nascent intelligentsia? They are marginalized, actively. We pour a lot of our authority into keeping them that way. Liberalism is not tolerated in Russia. Here's something I find very concerning, though. The armed forces are decently strong, but they seem to really despise the government. This is a big problem. We need their loyalty. We could just pay them a lot. Well, it turns out one of the reasons for their disloyalty is our low military wages. We're not running a deficit, right? Increase their wages and go into a deficit. Nothing bad can come out of this. I've increased their wages to the point they're getting no penalties or bonuses from them. This took about 1/3 of our remaining budget. They're still unhappy, but at least not actively disloyal. We need to pass some laws that they like. What laws do they like? Well, we could ramp up the censorship, institute police or National Guard, introduce new conscription laws. I think I'm going to start out by trying to pass a law called outlawed dissent. It's like censorship, but more. All of the important interest groups approve of this. The landowners, the church, the military. The rest either don't care, or they're so marginalized that I don't care about their objections. The best part is that when this law passes, their objections will be even more irrelevant. We're running a perfect government already. And we've got this lovely little image here of the pyramid of wealth, power, whatever. It's actually what inspired this playthrough. We're starting out with a 37% chance to pass the law on an enactment timer, with an extremely high chance of advancing its progress even if it doesn't pass the first time. So what's the timer? Days, weeks, or months? Well, it's January, and we'll see a result in August. It's a relatively short time because it's a law supported by the most relevant aspects of society. How's the world looking right now? Any major crises, or is the world peaceful? I've barely unpaused. Still, 1836 then. I should also start building things and deciding where to focus my tech. I don't currently have the required tech for police, so that seems like a good start. When I get that tech, I'll need a lot of bureaucracy to run my police forces, so I should build government administrations. So where does tech even come from? Having universities helps, but the downside of that is you have more annoying students who want rights and equality and such. Dastardly. I've noticed there is an immense demand for fish. I'll focus the entire economy of the Baltic states towards producing fish. We could also use more tools. Mazovia has a tooling workshop. I guess I'll expand it. And on the topic of widening the wealth gap, our poor aristocrats are struggling to buy luxurious silk outfits. The price of luxury clothes is far too high. I could either import them or start producing them myself. Let's see if I have any source of silk. Do you start the game with any railways? Russia does not appear to have any railways. Alright, I'm switching my textile mills to luxury clothes. It's a terrible idea. We have no silk. I suppose I'll import some. For various reasons, we haven't really talked about trade, so I'll gloss over this, I'm struggling to import any silk. I can't make silk myself, nor can I import it. This leaves only one option, importing the clothes directly. It would be better to import raw materials and manufacture them myself because it's good for the economy, but alas, that is not an option in this case. How is market access in this situation? Are states forced to be relatively self-supporting? Things seem fine for now. Lack of industrialization means little need for infrastructure. Having now established the import of 450 luxury clothes from Great Britain, the price of these goods has dropped significantly. Finally, the poor archdukes can afford a silk coat. We should hopefully see the standing of living for upper-class pops increase as a result, and since they're richer they have more political clout, reinforcing the political balance of power that I want. There's also a desire for meat and fabric. I'm more concerned about the high price of fabric because it's a building material that the government has to buy in order to construct things. You know where I can get both meat and fabric? Sheep. The steppe around Astrakhan has some livestock ranches. I'll improve those. Oh, I can also grow cotton in the Caucasus, so I shall. Maybe exclusively growing cash crops in this region will come back to bite me someday, but that's a problem for future Russia. As a result of all this construction, we're now running a small deficit. It's not enough that I'm going to institute any additional taxes yet. I'll need that later, but for now, I'm just spending money to make money. So, construction is also a jobs program, so we're good on another front too. Well, most people are subsistence farmers, so unemployment isn't really an issue for Russia. Even with my consumption taxes and suppressing the intelligentsia, I have plenty of authority to spare. Tempted to leave it unspent since having more than you need speeds up law enactment time, and I do want my outlawed dissent. Russian government, the price of tools is a bit high. Let's make some more. The Prussian government, let's import tools from Russia. Big pog moment. It's very good for Russian coin, right? Well, my tooling workshops will be more profitable, but I don't care about their profitability. I want them to make cheap tools for my construction. It's not like I care about the people working in these factories, after all. But think of the children. Well, I mean, he is thinking of the children. He's giving them jobs. And it's good for the economy, and it's good for the pockets of the child. Child labor is allowed. Is there a way to cut off trading a particular item? I have no ability to embargo or discourage goods. My economic laws are really backwards. You know what? Maybe switching to a different economic model might be good. I'm currently using traditionalism, which is bureaucratically cheap, but otherwise just bad. Agrarianism would give me an investment pool from the aristocrats, and give me a lot more economic options. But that'll have to wait. Currently too busy with ultra-censorship. Is there a support for agrarianism? There is! It would be widely supported by the aristocracy and the peasantry alike. Even the industrialists see it as an improvement over not having an economic system at all. Getting money from the aristocrats for investment sounds like a better way, rather than taxing them outright. Absolutely. Taxing the rich is not on my agenda today. Instead, they're free to exploit their serfs to their heart's content, so they'll invest more in farms to exploit more serfs. So, for now, there is no investment pool? Indeed, all expansion is at the government's expense. Would agrarianism prohibit using government treasury for economic expansion? Yeah, I'll be mostly limited to using the money on agriculture. How industrialized are you right now? Is there at least one factory in every state? Have you seen Siberia? The investment pool money, that is, right? Well, yes, I can still spend government funds on whatever I want. I decided to check on the price of iron. It's fine, but it could be more fine. A few more mines would be nice. I'll mine in the Urals. Russia surprisingly has some fairly large urban centers, but all that urbanization is not coming from factories. It's almost entirely from military buildings. I've declared an interest in the Balkans, Manchuria, and Japan, and I'm going to want Sakhalin. We're also very slowly colonizing Kazakhstan. I could speed it up, but I can't afford the bureaucratic expense. Besides, we want to use that on the police. Other than divine right, why do you want Sakhalin? Well, it's got a bit of everything. Iron, coal, whales, fish, and wood. Of course, we're barely even exploiting the riches of Siberia yet. We have an immense reserve of completely untapped resources. Oh, something is happening. Austria has started a diplomatic play against Prussia. They want Silesia. My leaning here is to declare neutrality on the issue. The Ottomans, presumably for similar reasons, are leaning towards Prussia. Wouldn't it be a good idea to weaken Prussia, since it has a lot of potential untapped at the start? Well, it has potential, but Austria is currently dominant. I imagine if you declare participation in a diplomatic play and it blows up into a full-scale war, you are instantly a participant? Exactly, yes. The deficit is a bit more significant now, since I'm also investing in the lumber industry a bit. For the same reasons that I'm building iron mines, I want to lower the cost of construction. Still not quite enough that I'll institute new taxes. All I'm saying is, I don't remember Austria buying our tools. To be fair, he doesn't like that Prussia is buying his tools either. Indeed, he wants construction. Exactly. Prussia buying my tools means they're more expensive for my government to buy. The Ottomans have officially joined Prussia's side. This just slightly tips the odds in Prussia's favour. Prussia has some interesting goals. They want to conquer parts of Poland, and in the process liberate the city of Krakow. If Krakow gets liberated, I might just, well, eat it up. Prussia, why? Groceries are quite expensive in Russia, and they just opened new imports. I wonder if Prussia is deliberately doing this. Can't tell if the AI is waging economic warfare or just determined that I'm a good source of food for some reason. Prussia is very wary of us. To do this, would Prussia's grocery prices be even higher than Russia's? Quite possibly. Looking at their market, they now have cheap groceries, presumably because they're stealing mine. Just in case, I'm going to start damaging relations with Prussia. If they actually win against Austria, they'll be quite powerful. Outlawed dissent did not pass immediately, but the petty bourgeoisie have decided that they really love this law, increasing the chances of it passing next time. Oh dear. It's escalating into war. I'm hoping for a bloody stalemate where nobody really wins. Have I backed someone? Well, I declared neutrality, which blocks me from ever interfering in this play. Maybe if someone is winning too hard, I can open an export route for guns. What do the rest of the Europeans think about this? Both sides have made outrageous demands, increasing their infamy. They're not getting involved, but they're not going to be happy if either side manages to win decisively. Since I'm looking at the diplomatic situation, I noticed that neighbouring Moldova is an Ottoman protectorate, but not an economically tied to them. They have their own market, and it's small and not performing well. They would join our customs union if we offered. But what can they bring to the market? Well, nothing of value. They're peasant farmers like us. I think I'll leave them to their squalor. I say squalor, but their standard of living is higher than most of Russia, partially due to being less massively repressive. Moldavia did just start buying our clothes. Just regular clothes, not luxury clothes. I have no strong opinion about this. Surprisingly, Saxony, a minor non-negotiation participant in the war, has occupied Bohemia, while Austria has occupied Bosnia. This is sure to go well. And then unfortunately the game crashed. It is the hottest of hot code. The build is from yesterday. Let's see if he can find a save that won't crash. Unfortunately, even the older autosaves are crashing. Must be some issue with loading, in addition to whatever caused the original issue. He'll grab the crash log and file a report, but unfortunately that means the end of the playthrough. That's what he gets for not playing on the recommended stable build. He wanted to try out some of the new changes. So, that is the AAR, which we didn't have a lot of it. Unfortunately, we did have it crash at the end, and it was unfortunately cut a little bit short. As he says here, he enjoyed it regardless of the abrupt ending. It's noticeably different playstyle to what I usually go with. Rapid industrialization and social progressivism. It just goes to show how much variety there is in the game. Is it possible to preserve the Edo Bakafu? I have no idea what that is, by the way. You can totally do that. It's probably a terrible idea, but you can. The restoration path for Japan is a whole lot of fun. It's by far his favourite run. You said you wanted Sakhalin. Does this mean it was controlled by the Japanese? None of the game start. It's within the Japanese strategic region, though, which means he needs an interest there to colonize it. Japan also has a claim on it. Another run I'd like to do in the future is Canadian unification, while staying loyal to Britain. It kind of implies that Canadian unification isn't a sure thing while staying loyal to Britain. It's drastically easier to unify China while you remain loyal, otherwise you just have to fight a lot of wars. Unify it how? Who is not unified yet? The HBC? Well, it's split into 5 different colonies, plus the British-owned Newfoundland and Labrador. How long does it normally take to unify them? Well, he hasn't tried it, but it should be possible in a bit less than 30 years if you speedrun it. But realistically, around 50. Can you play as the Patriotes and form Quebec? You can indeed. Lower Canada is also a Franco-Canadian country subject to the British Empire at the game start. If you manage to secure your independence, you can become Quebec. Can you unify Canada as Lower Canada and get all of it as French? Yes. Another fun playthrough is Opium Exporting Sikh Empire. He assumes Australia works the same as Canada. It does indeed. Could you unify India under the Sikh Moi and try to concert everyone? Someone else says he imagines it would be possible, really hard, and he's right. Maybe if you can get China to help you, but they have their own issues going on. So what is the hardest start in the game? Piratini. They can't really win their starting war. Unfortunate. I'm sure somebody will make that work. It's gonna happen. So yeah, it's unfortunate the game crashed and the AAR was brought short, but it's very interesting still, and kind of what I find most valuable about these AARs is instead of just this is how the mechanic works, and then this is how this mechanic works. It's like showing you how someone would actually play the game and the thought process that goes into the decisions you make with the mechanics. And that I find very, very valuable, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to click the like button, maybe hit subscribe for more Victoria 3 content, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye for now.